Hey everyone, Ekman here with another video, and we've got another Gundam beta match for you guys. We have the Strike Gundam versus the Wing Gundam, which is really fun. And real quick before we get into it, I do want to go over the decks that we use for this video. And if you guys want access to any of my decks that I've been working on for the beta version of the Gundam card game, you can find them on my website, Eggman Events, which is linked in the description. And then also, if you guys want to see more Gundam content in the future, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. It helps a lot and makes me know that you guys want more of this content as well. But we do have the white base Strike Gundam and the Wing Breach. That's what's on the website right here, and that's what we're gonna go over real quick. So this is my the deck that I use, and currently my favorite right now in this game. It's kind of like this defensive Strike Gundam build that does have like the engine from the white base, the blue package too. So it just works together really well and makes it difficult for your opponent to get that last piece of damage. You do have to set up a little bit, and if they're playing something very aggressive and they see their good curve, it is a little bit too fast for us sometimes, but I think that doesn't happen as often, and we do get to stabilize quite a bit too. So the main kind of pieces for this are Kira. I think this is our most important pilot for this deck. And this pilot's really insane for a lot of ways. The biggest thing is that it does get its choose on attack. Choose one enemy unit gets -2 AP during this battle. So what this means is that if you're attacking into something and it's like a 2-2, like 2 AP and 2 HP, you don't take any damage for your attack, which is really, really strong in those scenarios. And even if it's something with like 4 or 3 attack points, you're only taking 1 or 2 damage from that, and that's, you get some really good trade opportunities, which I think is really strong for this deck too. And then also the kind of Strike Gundams that we have Launcher Strike Gundam, which is just a blocker, but it's a 3/4, so we get to turn this into a 5/5. We have Strike Gundam from the starter deck, which is a draw 1 discard, which this effect is pretty cracked right now since there's not a lot of cycle. So not only do we get to play this card, but it's something that we're able to link into with a very favorable link. We make it a 5/4, we get to maybe trade into something, and then they still have to kind of respect how good this can be on the next turn. And then also the Perfect Strike Gundam, which is good for kind of bouncing tokens, getting the removal from there. It's also just a 4/4 blocker, so that does become a little bit impactful. And then also the fact that it does get the pair with anything with the Earth Alliance trait, which we do have for Kira. And then lastly, obviously we got L Strike. This is kind of like the starter deck rare for white right now, but it's a blocker, and also when paired with level 4 higher pilot, which can include Kira, are also Amaru, you're able to choose one enemy unit with 4 or less HP returns to its owner's hand, which I will say bouncing back to hand is not always super good, especially if you bounce a unit with a link. They just get to play it again next turn and play it with rush, so it doesn't get you as much tempo as you might think sometimes, but again, really good for getting rid of tokens, and the fact that this is a 4/4 blocker is really, really strong. And you'll see most of these cards are blocker for Strike Gundam, which means it works really well with Archangel. Not only are we able to get like an attack that could be pretty beefy, but then we can reset our blocker and block with it defensively. So that's really strong for just, I think, 2 resources, as well as being able to be a base, which I think is strong too. So other than that, we are using the blue package to just get value, make sure we have some stuff to do in the late game. That includes a Show of Resolve, which is a really good draw too. Gun Tank, Gun Cannon, I think you guys know is pretty good in their own way, which is why we're playing Amaru, as well as the Thoroughly Damaged our Hayato. This also works really well with the Gundam MA form, so we are able to get an additional draw sometimes. It only links with Amaru, but it does pair with any white base team to get that draw 1, so that does kind of work out a little bit. We can use it with the Thoroughly Damaged or their Amaru for that. This is the only way you get the link and being able to attack you the turn you want to, but the fact that we have any kind of cycle to help us get deeper into our deck, I think helps a lot, and that's something that blue is really able to do, and white with stuff like Strike Gundam once again. So I think we're pretty consistent. We have a really good late game, and we have some ways to kind of mitigate our opponent's kind of early game, which I think is really strong. So this is the build here, and again, I've been really liking this build personally. And then we also have the green and blue Wing Gundam one. So last time we made a video, it was more like a blue and green aggressive version of Breach, kind of an aggro version of it, and this is kind of more of a high end and revolves around the Wing Gundam, which I think is the most powerful like unit by itself in this game right now. The fact that it does have Breach 5, it's a 4/5, and then also this unit may choose an active enemy unit that is level 4 or lower as its attack target, which is most characters or units in this game right now So that's really, really strong in there. And then you can pair it with Heero Yui. Not only do you get the link with it, but you also become a 7/7 since this gets a +3/+2 with this, this unit gets +1 AP and +1 HP while linked. So that's very strong. It means that most decks will have to kind of put two things in to get the removal. Breach 5 means you can breach over any base currently in the game, which is great. And it's just a force to kind of be reckoned with that your opponent kind of has to respect. So to kind of get some value and get there, we do have the Wing Gundam Vanilla. This also just converts into a 7/6 with the Heero Yui, which is really strong. We are also playing the Shenlong as well as the Wu Fei. This does also pair well with the Wing Gundam since it does have during your turn if this unit has breach, it can't receive damage from enemy units with 3 or less HP. So you are able to turn yourself into a 6/6. And then also if you take, you attack into an AP of 3 or less, you don't take the damage and you still get your breach 5, which is really good. And that kind of, I think, takes advantage of the attacking active units that are level 4 or lower, which is really nice. So we do have a little bit of like this breach stuff. We have the Shenlong. We also have Rick Dom since it's just a kind of good level 3 to play. And then as kind of mentioned on the blue side, we have a bunch of our just value cards. We have Gun Tank, Gun Cannon, Amaru. We have Thoroughly Damaged, but also we have Kai's Resolve, which I've been testing this one a little bit more. I thought like on the first way, like the first time I saw this, I'm like, this is not like super good. But there's a lot of times where I'm like, man, I use Thoroughly Damaged just to ping one more damage. But then I could also just use Kai's Resolve to put this underneath or kind of pair it with a unit and then get that one more damage anyways. So this being able to heal your like Wing Gundam after it takes damage, meaning your opponent has to like really put a lot of force back into it, I think is good enough to try it out. So I've been trying it at 2. I might increase it a little bit, but I've been liking this card a little bit more, and I think there are some ways to use it, more than Thoroughly Damaged at times, especially when we're a little bit more aggressively leaning. This works well with like this Gundam here, which you're able to get this at like 5, which is really, really nice. And then since it's just during pair, it's not during a link, so that can be really helpful there. Obviously, it works with Gun Cannon. Gun Cannon can turn into like a 3/3 that can rest something, even though like a 2/4 that can heal once per turn with this is good. I don't know. There's just like a lot of things we can do with these pieces. So I've been testing it out a lot. I think the package is good and it can work well with like Wing Gundam. Just even turning this into a 5 damage to be able to attack a base without having to hit into a unit, I think is good enough in its own way as well. But I think there's something here. I know a lot of people want to try Wing Gundam, and this is my, I think, best build I've had so far, but I know that there's other builds that exist as well. So enough talking about them. If you guys have your own builds, I'd love to see them and talk about them too. Let me know what you guys think about these, and let's go into our game. All right, we've got me on the left again with the white and blue version of Ale Strike Gundam, and we've got Brian from Stage 0 on the right with the blue and green version of the Wing Gundam. So the blue and green build is something I've been testing a little bit more, and it looks like we do the dice roll real quick with Brian winning it, so he's going to be going second. But yeah, I'm curious to see the best way to build Wing Gundam on this version. I think it has to be blue with green, but we'll see how this match ends up going. So I'm going to keep my hand, so we're going to put 6 cards into our shields, and we're going to see that Brian is going to do the same. 6 cards in your shield. We also have 5 cards in our hand going to 6 when we start our turn, and 1 EX base. So 1 resource, I've got nothing to do, pass it to Brian. He's playing the Gun Tank, which has no target, but it is just a card to play on curve, and we're going to pass quickly back, and Brian's going to be at 2 resources, 1 EX, and attack into our EX base and do 1 damage. He's going to play the Gun Cannon and then pass it back to us. We're going to play the Demi Trainer and then the Gun Cannon of our own. So we do have a bit of a wider board. Would have been nicer to see the Demi Trainer maybe a little bit earlier, but I digress. Brian's going to see what he does, and he's going to play the Shenlong Gundam here. So nothing to kind of link it with, but it is kind of a bit of a menace. And he is able to clear our EX base and do an additional damage with the Gun Tank here. So we're already down to 5 shields. I'm at level 4 with 4 resources. We're going to play the Launcher Strike Gundam there. And then also we're going to actually link it with the Kira. So it is a 5/5 right now. We're going to attack it into the Gun Cannon with the AP -2 from the Kira. It is going to not take any damage, and then we're also going to be able to attack with our Gun Cannon into the Gun Tank. We're going to take 1 damage, but it is going to repair 1 and pass it back. So a pretty good, trade on board here, and we're going to have to see what Brian does with their next turn. They're actually going to link the Wu Fei there, so they're going to actually be able to attack into our Gun Cannon and get the breach effect, so it takes the strike from our from our shields, and they're going to play out a Zaku 2 as well as another gun tank here doing 1 damage to our Strike Gundam. And Brian's kind of thinking here, and I think maybe did the math a little bit wrong if we were trying to trade, but you're going to use the thoroughly damage to do 1 more damage to our Strike Gundam. I think he probably could have held that, but I digress from there. We're going to go back to our turn, and I think we are going to try to trade our Strike Gundam into it. Yes, that's going to be the case. And Breach is only on the offense, so no breach damage for us. And then with the rest of our resources, we're going to play Strike Gundam, being able to draw 1 and discard 1 card. All right, and we've got 3 resources left here. And thinking on what we want to do with them, it looks like we're just going to play another Launcher Strike Gundam. So 1 blocker here, that's a 3-4, and then another Strike Gundam, that's just a 3-3, and we still have our Demi Trainer. Brian's going to play out his first base of the turn, of the game. It's Fall Mel, which is going to be able to play a 3-1 Zaku token there. Still has 3 resources, and looks like he's going to play the Gundam there. So a 3-4 repair 2 and being able to get a +1 AP with a pair is super strong. So again, being able to go pretty wide on board, but it looks like Brian's almost out of cards in hand too. So that can be a little bit troublesome when you're continuing to play these units on the board. I've got quite a few resources right now. We're going to use 3 of them though for a Show of Resolve that is going to let us draw 2 cards and kind of keep our hand parity with Brian. We still have 3 open, so we're going to play the Perfect Strike Gundam. This is going to let us return a 1 HP back to their hand, which is going to get rid of the token. We're going to attack with our Strike Gundam into the base, and then another attack with the Launcher Strike, getting 3 damage again and getting rid of the Fall Mel. Passing it back to Brian. Looks like he's deciding what to do with the rest of his resources. Looks like he's going to attack the Gundam maybe into the 3-3. I do still have my 4-4 blocker. Yeah, so I'm going to block there, take 3 damage. We're going to attack with the Zaku into the Strike Gundam after attacking the gun tank into there. So trading with 1 damage there, and then another trade there, getting rid of the Zaku there, and then playing out the Wing Gundam. So, and with the Heero, this is pretty scary. It's going to be a 7. We're going to attack into the launcher, going to take a Breach 5, so taking a gun cannon out of my shields, and we're down to 3 life after playing another base, which is a Fall Mel, to play another 3-1 Zaku token. So that Wing Gundam is pretty scary. We have to try to remove it this turn if we can, and I think I have a way, but it's not really efficient, and it's a little bit cumbersome to do so. So looking at this, we currently have a 4 health Wing Gundam on the other side, so we need to try to do 4 damage to it. We're going to start with the Archangel, be able to go down to 2 shields, draw a card from our shields, and have a base up, which is quite nice. So definitely want to get rid of the Wing Gundam if we do this kind of play, but we're going to play the Ale Strike Gundam here for 4. And we do have to pair with a pilot level 4 higher to bounce it. So we're actually going to use the Amuro here, and we're just going to have a pair, not a link. So Demi Trainer is actually going to do 3 damage, and then we're going to use a thirdly damage to get the 4th damage to get rid of it. So nothing super good. Obviously would have liked to put an Amuro or a Kira on the Strike Gundam, but we weren't able to do that. I think this is still good enough, but a little bit of a spooky play. And obviously, it feels bad to use an Amuro just for a +2 attack bonus, right? But they're going to start with the Zaku token attacking. Got another Wing Gundam, but luckily no Heero. I think if he had a Heero, I think I likely would have lost here. But Brian's got no cards in hand and kind of in top deck mode, and we got to still kind of answer to what this Wing Gundam can kind of do. But we're going to start off with another Show of Resolve, so the card advantage is just trickling in our side, which is really nice. We're going to play out a Strike Gundam again, just digging for something, drawing 1 and discarding another 2-drop there. And then we've got only 3 resources left, which is a little bit scary. Looks like we're going to play the Kira on the Strike Gundam, so it's a 5-4 and going to be able to attack this turn. So we're going to attack into the shields. We're going to attack with our blocker, and then we're going to be able to restand it with that. So we are also a level 5 Ale Strike, so a Wing Gundam can't attack into it. We're 5 health right now with the addition of the Kira, and I think we're just going to get traded there since it's it does 4 damage. Yeah, it takes 5 damage, so it's a 5-4 versus a 4-5. So they will be trading there, and it will be a Breach 5, which will do 5 damage to my base, which will get rid of it. And now it's quite the tightrope in a matchup like this, especially if they're able to find 2 Wing Gundams. But they're going to do 3 damage. They're going to do that 1 more damage to us, hit a gun tank, and then the gun tank's going to get rid of the blocker. This is kind of scary. I've got to really respect this spot because they've got 2 attackers, and they do have, I only have 1 shield left, but we've got a gun tank of our own being able to get rid of their token. We're going to play another blocker. We're going to play the Gundam in the MA form, and we're going to pass it back to Brian. So top decking, no cards in hand, getting a show of resolve, which is pretty nice for him there. And looks like he's found a Gundam as well as a Heero. So probably thinking if he wants to do this. He is playing the Gundam, and I think a maybe minor misplay here is that he does, I think he's going to go for the attack with the gun tank right now. I think he could have just waited for it since it's just a kind of free block for my Strike Gundam right now. It does get 1 damage, but I don't think that's too worrisome right now. He's going to pass it back. But again, we are a bit of a tightrope. 1 shield, 1 blocker, but we're going to attack with the gun tank first, and he does get a Heero added to hand. We're going to play another Archangel here, which is pretty nice. We're going to play the Yamato underneath the Gundam, which will let us get a card draw, which draws us into another show of resolve. So I think this is our 3rd copy of it. We're just going pretty nuts with it. We're going to attack with our blocker, which might have been a little bit of a mistake. They get an Amuro to hand, which is quite scary, since if I reset my blocker, they can just use Amuro to stun it. So honestly, in my mind, I'm like, if they get a Wing Gundam, since I know they have a Heero and they have an Amuro in hand, I probably lose this. So I'm just going to play another blocker and just hope they don't have that. We're at 0 shields apiece, and just kind of depends on this top deck for Brian. So counting out his resources, got the full 10. And we got to see if he's got a Wing Gundam or not. Because again, we do know the Amuro is there. There also could be some scenarios where, like, if you get anything that you can link with Amuro, you would be able to still use the when paired effect to rest the Ale Strike. But it looks like it's just Amuro there being able to rest it. It's got 5 damage for this, which we'll be able to get rid of our base. And then they've got the Zaku and the Heero, but nothing as a link and super close. So from there, we're just able to win. Top card is a show of resolve, which would have drawn into a gun cannon. So that could have gone the game for Brian. Just 1 card off. Super close. And I think this kind of shows off the strengths of both decks and how good this matchup can be and like how tight and close it can be. So that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Again, if you guys like these, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. It does help a lot. And make sure to follow Brian on Stage Zero. His channel is linked in the description as well as in the title. So that's going to be it for me. Let us know what other decks you guys want us to try, and we'll catch you all next time.